Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another segment of Complete Wellness with Cindy, the Busy Woman's Cheerleader. This is the channel where women from all walks of life can stop by, get tools and resources to help them thrive 360 in mind, body, spirit, and finances. I invite you to stay connected, subscribe to this channel, and visit me online at thecindyrand.com. Now for today's segment. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another segment of Complete Wellness with Cindy, the Busy Woman's Cheerleader. So super excited today, as usual, to be coming before you. But first, before I introduce our special guest today, let's think about our quote for today. Our power quote for today is, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but never gets you anywhere. And that comes from Irma Bumbach. How about that?
I love that one.
Oh, so we have today with us Kim Hammer, and Kim is over the 100 Acts of Love. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, Cindy. Nice to see you.
You as well. Bad hair day, but we're here.
Oh no, bad hair day. That's why we got this on.
So listen, tell us a little bit about yourself and basically, the 100 Acts of Love. Where did that come from? Tell us about yourself and tell us where that came from.
Yeah. So back in 2006, my very tall, healthy, strong husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. For those of you who like to know what kind of cancer, it was large B-cell lymphoma. And it really took us by surprise. We were very active, like physically active. We took care of ourselves. We ate organic everywhere, anywhere we could. Mentally pretty well, you're never as mentally sane as you think you are, right. But mentally as sane as we could be, raising 3 children. And so it just, one day he was having trouble breathing, and the next day it was, holy cow, you need to get put on oxygen ASAP, and we need to start chemo. We can't even wait for, there was a lump that they found, and it said, we can't even wait for the surgery to heal. You need to start chemo because this thing is going to take you out in a matter of weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
So what happened was a lot of people showed up and kept saying, if you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. And at first it felt really helpful, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But so many people showed up, and we lived all different places. We grew up on the East Coast. We were on the West Coast at the time. We lived in all different places across the country, and people kept showing up and doing really sweet things for them. So I started calling these things acts of love, because that's what it felt like. It felt like, we're going to pick your kids up today, and you're not going to get them back till tomorrow, Saturday morning at 10, because we're going to take them to the movies and do a sleepover. We love you. We're going to send a handyman to fix that light in your kid's room because we love you. We're going to take care of getting sure that the lawn gets mowed because we love you. And so all these things, they always felt like an act of love. Fast forward, my husband becomes cancer-free. We're very excited, but hesitant. And I think the thing that most people think is when you hear that you're cancer-free, you're like, woohoo, life is so great, but it's not. It is, we spent so many nights in bed looking at each other and going, what the heck just happened? Like, what just happened to us? So we started to build our lives back together, parenting, co-parenting together, and building our marriage, because our marriage took a hit.
Right.
And then less than 2 years later, the cancer came back. And 4 months after that, he died. And at that time, he was 44 years old, and our kids were 12, 9, and 7. And that's really when the acts of love really stepped in, because, there is no way. I mean, I think we underestimate our own courage, but we also underestimate the power of other people's support. Right. And there is no way that I would be the same person that I think I am. Well, you can ask my kids. Sometimes they don't think so. That without all that support. So a couple years passed, and I realized that so many people don't know what to do or what to say. They feel really uncomfortable. They feel guilty, and they do one of 2 things. They do one of 3 things. Either they manage to do something well and good and kind and sweet because they, in the back of their mind, they either know or they've had a situation that's familiar, so they know what to do. They either say, or the second thing is they usually end up saying the wrong thing. And the third thing, which is actually sometimes the most painful, is they say nothing at all. They pretend like it didn't happen. So that's why I sat down and wrote a book. I wrote a book called 100 Acts of Love, A Girlfriend's Guide to Loving Your Friend Through Cancer or Loss. And the idea was to keep it really simple and to teach people how to show up easily and quickly. And I'll show you a quick tip at the end. But I just wanted people to know how powerful they were, because I knew that I wouldn't be where I was a couple of years after my husband died if it hadn't been for those people who showed up or who got it wrong and showed up again and tried again and again. And I also thought that before my husband got sick, I thought that you had to like commit to like bringing dinners every single, Monday through Friday for the next 6 months. And through my experiences, I learned how important how easy it is to support somebody going through cancer or grief or depression or anything. Fast forward again, I go back to work. My very first job, I go back into HR, which was my first love. And my very first job, I'm working for a president of a company whose wife has cancer and then she dies. And the company doesn't know what to do. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to talk to the managers about, he's the CEO of the organization. So no one knows what to expect. Everyone's running scared. He's in the office not being himself, because that's what grief does to you. It changes your brain. And that's when my business was born. That was the first kind of inkling, because I spent a lot of time talking to the managers about how to really work with this person who was going through a devastating, life-changing loss. How do you say to him? How do you handle his reactions? How do you change your expectations of what you think he's going to be able to do? I also spent time he was the president of the company. There was a CEO of the company in the UK. I spent time coaching him as well as what could he expect from this employee. And so I move forward in the HR world and I see it all over the place. I see death happen and employees grieving at work. I see an employee death occur and managers don't know what to do or how to manage the situation. And I see, now we've got, almost an epidemic of depression and loneliness occurring, which really affects how people show up at work. And so I launched this, developed this through my years of working in HR. I developed this 5-star of something called North Star strategy, which helps managers understand exactly what steps to take to help their team move through this process. And that's what I do now.
Okay. All right. I always say there's a cause and effect behind every business entity.
Yes.
So it's just always kind of interesting to get that background as to what, made a person do what they're doing or the cause behind it.
Yes.
So basically, you're mentioning about the leadership. So how could a leader balance their employees' need and continue to keep the company going at a good pace?
Sure. So one of the things I often tell leaders, the very first thing I say, you have to say something. And it's so funny. Most leaders, when I talk to them, they say to the person, they're so shocked by the news. Their reaction is take all the time you need. And that is actually the wrong thing to say. And because what you're doing is all the time you need could mean to that employee, I'm going to take 24 hours and come back to work, or it could be, I'm going to be out for 3 weeks. And you haven't set a boundary. And then, so let's say the employee is back at work and they're doing crappy work because they just found out they had cancer, or just because they're under treatment, or because they're doing crappy work for a good reason. Now you have to start having these conversations with them about their work, right? And you said it, and you really don't think they should be here. So you have to kind of figure out what to say. One of the things I also tell managers, very important, is the next thing they say is take all the time you need. Then after that, they say, if you need anything, let me know. And that is actually the least helpful phrase you can say. And there are 4 main reasons for it. 1, when someone delivers you that news, whether it's an employee you care about deeply or an employee you kind of really want to, move out the door, you need to take the time to connect with them. And so one of the things we need to do is take that moment to go, holy cow, I cannot believe this is happening to you, or I'm so sorry, or I just need a minute. This news is so shocking, right? And that connecting is really important. Here's a great example. Let's say something really good has happened to you. Like, new car, new house, marriage, kid, whatever, something fantastic. And you go to lunch with 6 people and they all know exactly this great thing that's happened to you. And they say nothing the whole time? Nothing.
Mhm.
Most of us, our reaction is we feel hurt. Like, why didn't anyone acknowledge, like, I want to share this good news? Well, the same thing happens when we have tragedy. We need to be witnessed. Think about when you come home from work and you want to talk to your partner and you just
Mhm.
want to complain about the day. That's witnessing, right? Think
Right.
about when your friend says, just gives you a hug because it's such a horrible thing that's happened to you. That's witnessing. So we all want to be witnessed. And that's so important when you are dealing with a situation where your team is watching you. Your team
Right.
is watching, whether they're watching you physically or they're watching because the person's going to come out of the office and tell everybody what's happened. They're going to tell that one person's going to tell everybody else.
Right. Right.
They're watching you. So being really clear on what you to say is important. So that's the first reason why it's not a helpful thing to say. The second reason, Cindy, what's anything? What's anything? What did you mean by that? Did
Mhm.
you mean that you were going to go pick up my vomiting toddler in your brand new BMW that just got cleaned? Or did you mean that you were going to, right? Or did you mean that you were going to be dropping off a bottle of wine? Like, anything is too big a word. No one can grasp that. Now, in the moment, we really do mean anything. If you needed caviar, Cindy, from Russia, I would figure out a way to get to Russia. Like, in the moment, I'd be like, all for it. And then I'd look at my credit card statement and think, I
A
can't.
person wouldn't know that it's not to that extremity, but I understand what you're saying, how that could be misleading.
Exactly. It can be very misleading. Anything is too big a word. It's just too big. The third reason it's not helpful is now you put the person who's already under a great amount of duress to figure out what you mean by anything. So now they have to kind of go through their Rolodex. Like I said, did you mean that you would pick up my child? Or did you mean that you'd go get pasta? Or did you mean you get milk first thing in the morning? Because I just happened to run out of, I just realized I'm out of it and it's morning time. Like, so you're asking me to figure out what anything is or to make a list. And the
Right.
fourth reason it's not helpful, which is so key for so many of us, most of us aren't good for asking for help. And we get worse at asking for help when we really need it because we are vulnerable and we feel like our hearts will break if someone turns us down. So you've got four really good reasons why that statement isn't very helpful. And so what I tell managers to do is, one, acknowledge what's going on. You don't have to produce some action step or something specific right away, but you can come back to them and say, hey, I was thinking about this. What I'd like to do for you is, and fill in the blank. Right? Figure out, we all have our helping superpowers. We're all really good at doing certain things. We enjoy cleaning the dishes, or we enjoy vacuuming, or we enjoy, Gantt charts, whatever it is, we enjoy making charts out of making pie charts, whatever it is, we have things that we're really good at and that this person who's in crisis may not be as good at, or may need to be taken off their plate. And so that's where you make the offer. You get very specific and you offer more than once, because people are not firing on all cylinders and they're probably going to forget.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So it sounds like your hands are full. So what are you doing with that? Are you just basically giving out that information throughout your book, or what is your format for giving people this information?
Yeah, so basically I haven't quite figured the title yet, but I'm sort of like the crisis consultant. So what happens is
Makes sense.
a manager comes in and says, oh my, an HR person will call me usually and say, an employee has died. What do we do? And, or this is what we've done. We need your help in figuring this out. So I will come in. I usually spend 3 days in an organization, very intense 3 days, I'm not with the manager for 3 days straight. I'm coming in, I am learning about what has been said. I'm training the team on what to say and what not to say. I'm looking at, we do sort of a couple assessments. The one major assessment that we do is we ask managers to sit down, and teams to sit down and think about what their stereotypes are. So let's say a key person has cancer. We all have stereotypes of what cancer is and what it does. And most of the times with those stereotypes, we base our actions on those. And most of the time those stereotypes are like only 1% of what we believe is true. So we have to kind of look at that. And we also need to look at our own feelings behind it, because our feelings leak out of us. Think about, you come home from work, you're having a bad day. The dog senses you're having a bad day and stays away, right? So our feelings leak out of us. So we need need to do that feeling work. The third thing we do is we do a massive assessment. So just kind of figure out if it's someone with cancer, what, we want to know. We don't need to know what kind of cancer, and it's none of our business, and
Right.
legally we cannot ask,
Right.
but we do want to know, how often are you going to be able to work? And that person can say, well, I'm going to be able to be in 3 days a week and have to be out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And okay, so with that in mind, how do we need to rearrange the team so that it's more effective? A lot of times managers make the mistake of pulling the big projects from the person who's dealing with the issue. And that is one of the worst things you can do, because you're sending two messages.
Yeah,
exactly. One, they want to stay connected. Two, if they're working, and two, you're sending the message to the team, this person is weak. And this is what happens when we deal with weak people. We just pull the big stuff from them. And then third is you completely unmotivate the employee who has had cancer. So they may stay with you, but they are probably going to leave. Their chances of leaving for a different position are very high hopefully after they've come back and cured. So we do an assessment, and then after that, we're able to take thoughtful action. And that assessment, so like I said, it covers the employee, it covers the team, it covers the company. Some companies have some stuff dialed in already on what they do and how they support employees. Most companies don't. So we start to take a look at that. And what do you want to do? Because this is not the only time it's going to happen. So what do you want to do moving forward from here? What's kind of the ground rules you want to set so everyone understands what happens when they're having a personal crisis?
right.
And then we revisit, because that revisiting, if you've got an employee with chemo, you need to revisit again and again and again. Chemo affects people differently. They may be great for round 1 and 2. And then by the time they get to round 4, they're not doing well. They're not able to concentrate at work. So you need to constantly assess and talk to your employees. So that's the general gist of how I work.
I could definitely see how that's necessary. A lot of times, and we're not going to get into that, with how the healthcare system a lot of times forces people, even in a crisis, to push through to keep their benefits, to be able to continue to work because of their benefits. Another whole story for another year.
Yes.
So it's definitely. I definitely understand why it would be necessary to have like that crisis management that a lot of times is in, other arenas, but not in the HR arena. And that is not something, because I understand HR from my accounting background for all those years. So there's not something that is taught or you're certified as. It has to be like an interest of yours to be able to take it and be able to deal with your staff. I commend everybody who does HR, because for me, the benefit side of it, it's like, man, I can't babysit your stuff. I give you the information as far as like your package, but all day long, I don't want to talk about your stuff and which parts you didn't use and which parts you didn't know.
Right.
And that is an absolute awesome, actual, part to have in for HR professionals. That's awesome.
Exactly. And most HR professionals go, we have an EAP, an employee assistance program, and the employee assistance programs are focused on the employee assistance program.
Yes.
They are not focused on supporting the manager and how they can manage through this crisis. And what they do really matters. It matters in team engagement. It matters in productivity. It matters in trust building. So many managers kind of think, well, we'll just kind of push through it. And we all know what happens when you push through it. People, it's never a good outcome when you just decide to put the blinders on and push through it. Right. And in today's talent market, you need to keep your employees that you like. And this is one of the ways that you do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So listen, busy woman question of the day.
Yes.
So how do you maintain your balance? It sounds like you have your hands full.
That is a great question.
Even with those kids.
Yes. Well, the kids, I've only got one home right now. So the other two are
okay.
Partially launched, but I think I don't use the word balance. I use integration.
Okay.
Because I can't balance it. And the idea of the balance feels like, okay, I eat well. I do an integration. There are certain things that I absolutely must do every single day. Meditation is one of them. Making sure that my refrigerator is stocked with healthy food so I don't go after the junk food. That's another big one. I've realized over the years that bad food really affects my brain. It makes my brain foggy. I've seen this for myself.
Foggy.
Yep. Yep. A little sugar just kind of
Yeah.
spaces me out.
And
I can't.
I fight it every day. Like the
Yes.
sugar, it's like I need to eat it. And it's like, how do I get like this car craving away from me? So
Yep.
that I don't
Yep.
have that because I don't like that sluggish feeling. So definitely,
Exactly, exactly. So I make sure my refrigerator is stacked. It's really funny. I listened to a lot of, I just heard this thing from Deepak Chopra today, where he asks himself 4 questions every day. Who am I? What do I want to get done? Where do I have gratitude? And oh shoot, okay, I'm going to look up the 4th question because it was so powerful. And he says he doesn't answer the questions. He just literally puts them at the forefront of his mind and things just kind of work out. So who am I? Oh, what do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? So I'm constantly adding and taking things out of my morning routine so that I can be the best person. And then the last thing is I wrap up at the end of the day. It's so important for me to stop work. Even if I go back to emails in the evening, I
yes,
have a stop point where I
yes,
kind of quickly review my day. What didn't I get done? What did I do really well? And what's one thing I'd like to have done better? And so that there's that constant reflection going on. Y'all, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm consistent with this practice. I'm consistent with the meditation and the food because that's very vital, but I'm not consistent with the ending my day. But I am getting more and more consistent with it because it just seems to benefit so much, everybody, including the child who is here with me, living with me, because those relationships, they suffer when we suffer.
yeah, yeah. And it's very important. In my most recent book, Busy Woman's Guide to Holistic Health and Wellness, that was basically those 2 things. I was waiting for you to say reflecting. There she goes. There she hit it right on the head. I go in about basically how to change your environment to make it conducive to productivity. Uh,
Yeah.
and basically, one of the main things is gratitude
Yeah.
and self-reflection at the end of each day. Even if, sometimes I do something and it's like, okay, that's my good deed for today.
Right.
So at the end of the day, a lot of times, and sometimes it's for free, sometimes it's
Yeah.
just something I just did because somebody just needed it. There's still good people in the world. And that's what you have, discovered through your 100 acts. Despite what we see, despite what goes on, unfortunately, it's very hurtful, but there's still good people in the world. Sometimes you have to
Absolutely.
find them, but
Yes. Yes.
they are definitely there. And we
Yeah.
want to always, there's just, I thought about, while you were talking, I thought about reciprocity. And
Yes.
then I thought about gratefulness. And
Yep.
then I thought about reflection. And I said, she hit it on the head. So that's a good balance. If a person
Yes.
can take each day granularly, regardless
Yes.
of what's going on, and find something good in that
Yeah.
day, be grateful for the large, the small, the good, the bad. I've even
Yes.
experienced some issues where even when it was ugly, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm still thankful. I'm still grateful. I am so thankful. I'm thankful that this didn't happen. It could have been this way, but that way.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
noticed that energy ushering some good in, ushering
Yes.
in. At the end of the day, being reflective of your day, that good deed that you did for the day, and then
Yep.
anything else that was positive. Just like I tell our group, the Busy Woman's Network, I'll say,
Right.
what are your wins? Great or small?
Yes.
What are your weak
Yes.
wins? Sometimes, well, I just, don't say I just.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Every
It's,
win is a win.
yeah.
Don't downplay anything positive, because
Yep.
everything going on around us, we need every bit of positive energy, positive accolades, positive thoughts. We need those things. So I
Yeah.
commend you for having that integrative balance.
Well, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, it's not easy, but it is, you
Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
I always remember I drink from a well that I didn't dig, right?
Yes.
I am drinking from the well that my parents dig, that my grandparents did, my great grandparents did, that,
Awesome.
all the way back.
Yes.
And my job is to continue digging. And I
Yes.
can't dig for my children or for my grandchildren or for my friends' kids or for, my sister's children. I can't dig if I
Right.
don't do my own work. And so, or I
That's
can't
right.
dig as deep if I don't do my own work. And so I think
You got to
that's
take care of yourself. That's
yep.
what the good book mentions about charity starts at home.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're not talking about a building, we're talking about that temple.
Yep.
Take
Absolutely.
care of yourself. How can you, I always say, how can you lead when you're running on empty?
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
constantly be filled up. So this is awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed talking to you. How can people get in contact with you if they want to get in contact?
Sure. So there's a first thing. I know I mentioned one thing never to say. I actually have a free download with 5 things never to say to an employee, a friend, anyone dealing
Okay.
with cancer, loss, or anything. And you
Okay.
can download that at 100actsoflove.com/what not to say. So 100actsoflove.com/what not to say. No spaces, no capitals. You get that for free.
Okay.
The second thing is I'm all over LinkedIn. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where most people find me. So you can find me there. My name, Kim Hamer. I do LinkedIn Lives every Thursday. So if you have a question that you want answered, that you kind of feel like a fool for asking because you feel like everyone else knows but you, I'm your gal. So go ahead and DM me with that question and I will get it answered for you on air. And then the last thing is go ahead and reach out to me at 100 Acts of Love on Instagram. I'm also there as well. So yeah, there's a couple places that everyone can find me. I will be launching YouTube at some point. Got a couple videos up there, but haven't gotten there yet. God bless you, Cindy, for doing it. So yeah, those are all the places. But I think the thing I want everyone to really know is how much they matter. I think we forget. We think it's like what you said in your group. We tend to look at all the bad things we've done and not celebrate the good things. And that friend, that coworker, that employee who you really like working with, they like working with you too. You're important to them.
Yes.
And when you show up, even if you say the wrong thing, you could always re-say it and say the right thing. But showing up when someone is in crisis is really so incredibly important for them, but it's also incredibly powerful for you.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, Zen. All right. So that is all for today. We'll definitely have to get you on again. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too, Cindy. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you again for tuning in to Complete Wellness with Cindy, the Busy Woman's Cheerleader. Follow me on social media at Busy Woman's Cheerleader. Remember, together we write our stories, share our journeys, create memories, and leave our marks in history. Until next time, peace, blessings, and joy be multiplied to you. Tah-Tah.